Boys, we're looking at Prometheus Lens today. This one was directly buffed with Sandbox 2.1, essentially giving it a 10% buff across the board for both PvE and in PvP. Now, if you remember, about 4 weeks ago, trace rifles in general got a buff. They got an increase in ammo in Crucible, and armor pieces are actually now affecting these weapons. Things like targeting perks on our armor pieces are now affecting trace rifles, as well as some unflinching perks, which doesn't seem to be doing anything anyways. The downside is there still isn't scavenger perks available for trace rifles, which is why the ammo economy is still kind of crap inside of Crucible. Now, for those that need a refresher on what's happening inside of Prometheus Lens, intrinsically this weapon comes with a perk called Prismatic Inferno. It fires a solar trace beam and generates a damaging heat field that grows while the weapon continues to fire. Now, that heat field is pretty nice. Not necessarily something you're going to take advantage of in PvP, but for PvE, it does a pretty decent job on throwing some AoE damage against those ads that are normally surrounding like a boss or a major or something that you're putting a lot of damage into. Now, the trait here, Flame Refraction, kills with this weapon return a fraction of the ammo used to the magazine from reserves, extending the beam's duration. Now, this perk was actually nerfed. Before, it used to just fabricate special ammo or ammo out of thin air, and then when it became a special weapon, they made that perk to where it only pulls from reserves. So that perk is not going to really help you much in PvP. It's mainly used for PvE. I am rocking, though, the Masterwork here on Prometheus, which gives us a plus 20 in stability and in handling. So let's talk numbers here, guys. What's it hitting? How does it compare to pre-2.1? So previously, Prometheus Lens was hitting 14 per crit and 10 per body. You also see some ticks of burn damage there. That 6 burn damage seems to pop up every 3 to 4 bullets being shot. Now, let me walk you through the time to kill for this weapon. Despite this weapon saying 1,000 rounds per minute, it's actually 900 rounds per minute. Mercules actually did test on it. I saw it in his Excel spreadsheet. He stated that it is 900 rounds per minute, but just to double check and confirm it for myself, it is. For some reason, though, this weapon is still listed at 1,000 rounds per minute inside of Destiny, but it's definitely firing at 900 rounds per minute. But with that rate of fire out of the way, previously the TTK value, including burn damage, was 0.8 seconds. Now here in 2.1, Prometheus Lens is hitting 15 per crit and 11 per body, which brings that time to kill value down to 0.73, which is actually the same time to kill that Coldheart has. Now, like I said before, that 10% buff is actually transitioned over here to PvE as well. This is some gameplay of us hitting Greg here for 100 body shot damage and 140 crit shot damage. And then here today, I was hitting 154 per crit shot and 110 per body shot. So a nice buff overall, but is it enough? Immediately when we talk about trace rifles, we compare it to other trace rifles. There's only 3 of them. There's Wave Splitter, there's Coldheart, and there's Prometheus Lens. Wave Splitter, by far the most dominant trace rifle in PvP. It is super nasty, and we don't even have the masterwork for it yet. Like when the exotic catalyst comes out for Wave Splitter, where you can pick up your own orbs to actually get that bonus damage, it will be a scary time to be alive in Crucible. But the real comparison really shouldn't be Prometheus Lens to these other trace rifles. What it should be is, how does Prometheus Lens stand against other special weapons? And from today's gameplay, from me playing in Rumble, as well as just some quick play, guys, it handles itself well. It has a good time to kill there at 0.73, but it also has better range than something like SMGs or sidearms. And yes, it does lose that sticky factor. Like, there is a cutoff point for Prometheus Lens and Coldheart, or other trace rifles. There's a point in that range that the weapon just no longer feels sticky. Probably not an issue for PC players, but it's definitely noticeable here on consoles. But for that mid-range, I felt like the gun was very dominant. Whether I was going against people using Luna's Howl or Not Forgotten, or other people using special weapons, I think that's what makes trace rifles a special kind of gun, right? And if you think they suck, just pick up a Wave Splitter for a second. And now after 2.1, pick up Prometheus Lens, especially if you've got the catalyst. They are much better than what people give them credit for. But they do have a playstyle that I feel like sits right outside of that close range shotgun territory to that mid-range, which allows players to pretty much engage in every gunfight, regardless how badly they may have placed themselves. That's the thing. Like, you rush out there with a shotgun and that person's done baited you out, you're going to get punished and you're going to get shredded by whoever it is, whether he's using like a Bygones or something along those lines. But with a trace rifle, if you rush out there, even if you get caught with your pants down, you're good, because the weapon can handle its engagements even in that mid-range. So to me, trace rifles, especially Prometheus Lens now, has a place as a special weapon. Whereas before, I felt like it didn't. I felt like it was just awkward. It should have stayed a primary weapon. But with the various buffs that it's received over the course of the season, as well as 2.1 here recently, Prometheus Lens is much better. So fellas and ladies, thank you all for coming and watching. And as always,
slap that like button like your mama told you right.